during Allen County's existence, at one time or another, residents there have called as many as 70 communities home, and now all those communities have been documented in a wonderful new book by Allen County author Glenn Connor.
Our Sense of Place is the title of the book, and it's a history of the communities that existed at one time or another in Allen County. Began looking at some histories of the communities we knew about at the time as part of our bicentennial celebration in 2015. And then we discovered there were many more places that we had any notion about. So that led to continuing research, which eventually produced the information of quantity that required a book. The research took about 3 years, roughly. And it's been developing as it went. You know, the more we learned, the more we knew we didn't know. And so it led on and on until we had exhausted our sources. Some of the facts that we found are things that we knew about that we didn't know the degree of importance they were. And now one of those is the old country stores, because the country store was the meeting place. It was the cement that held the communities together. It was a place that people went to talk, and they told stories. The stories they told were the oral histories of the place. Those are essentially gone now. And so I was surprised at the amount of information that is still available from back in that old country store era. One of the earliest and biggest community at the time was Port Oliver. Port Oliver now is one of those that doesn't exist as a community anymore. It's been replaced with all of Barren River and its Barren River Lake and the dam and everything else that is just subsumed the name Port Oliver. But in the early days, there was a production of salt in that area. And they were shipping as much as 3,000 bushels of salt a month down to New Orleans by river. And at that point, they were incorporated as a town in 1839. And just about that time, they had a population within a half a mile of downtown Port Oliver, so to speak. There were 400 people living, and it was bigger than Scottsville at that time. Wow. And now it's all gone from as a place, and also, unfortunately, most of it from memory. It's the kind of research where there are no answers in the back of the book, you know, where you can find something and find it all in one spot. So there we spent most of the time here in the local library, and in particular looking at the single entity and communities now that keep our history and record it for posterity, which is the newspaper. And the local newspaper is really important from a historical standpoint. And then also it was a trip to the National Archives in Washington, D.C. for all of the research on the post office that were here. Initially, there were no towns here. In fact, Scottsville didn't even exist. It had a name and a place before it had any people. But it's also true that the communities have changed quite a bit originally. But what changed, the impetus for the change to a great degree was the creation of good roads, automobiles, cheap gas, and there was a period when the country stores were bypassed on the way to Scottsville to shop. Scottsville during that period of time was a booming place. We had multiple department stores. We had men's clothing stores, women's clothing stores, hardware stores. We had new car dealerships, and it was at the peak. And as the small communities were losing their identity, Scottsville was booming as a town. And now, of course, we're evolving to the point where, with good highways, people are bypassing some of the Scottsville businesses to go to Bowling Green and elsewhere to shop. One of the enjoyments of doing a project like this is learning this stuff. It's the learning that's the fun. The writing of it is not so much fun. But I'm happy that we found what we did. The book is 384 pages. And it's essentially histories of places that I don't think there's any other source for the information anymore. The pieces of information are there, but they're not collected anywhere else besides the book. Almost everyone has stories about our communities here, but those stories now exist in the minds of people who are older, who can remember those communities when they were actual thriving communities, and people were proud to say, I live in Bond, or I live at Rory, or whatever other names. So I would encourage people to continue their oral history exchange with their children and grandchildren to recount some of the things that they know about Allen County's history.
If you would like to purchase one of Connor's books, you can drop by the Allen County Historical Society at 301 North 4th Street in Scottsville, or online at Amazon.com. Reporting from Allen County, Barry Hyatt, NCTV.